Hi everyone and welcome to another daily race on Gran Turismo. Today we're at Dragon Tail and we all know that that has the famous chicane of death, which we have managed to navigate relatively well with varying success today. Now, managed to set quite a good time, a 1:38.2, which for the races that I've got, we're starting near the front on all of them. So yeah, quite a good time. Took a little bit of effort getting there, but this actually seemed to be a track that I quite enjoyed and managed to get a hang of relatively quickly. So for this first race today, we're starting in P4 with the Supra behind us. Now you always have to be conscious, particularly in the Supra, because it doesn't have that much straight line speed. Coming down this home straight is quite a long straight before you get into turn one, so just have to be conscious of cars behind. But thankfully I have the Supra behind us. He does give us a little bit of a tap, tries to go up the inside and gets a little bit out of shape coming kind of out of that. So yeah, he put a little bit of pressure on. Now he's on the back foot, and what we just have to do is work together, myself and the guy in P3, so that we can extend that gap behind. So working together, don't want to make any big moves coming down here. And we've extended that gap to 9/10 behind. So it's a case of let's work together. The front four breakaways the pack, and we've got an opportunity here to make sure that we have no defending from behind, and which will hopefully put us in good stead for the rest of the race. Now this was the first race of the day, and we will see just here. Yeah, definitely rusty, even rusty getting back on the track, although a few of them probably went a little bit deep. Dropped us down into P7. Yeah, 3 of us there getting completely out of shape, and yeah, not what you want to see, but first race you're always going to be a little bit rusty. And actually managed to get quite a good exit out of the chicane just there, which puts us in a good position to take on the Porsche to go down the inside of this final corner. He tries to be aggressive a little bit. It's hard to go round the outside there, and straight away we're now actually looking at the back of the Supra. The Porsche isn't done. He's popping out. He's kind of having a look, although doesn't seem to have the launch that he wanted. I'll go up the side of the Supra here, looking to go into turn one. They're getting a little bit feisty. Hit the braking point, go round, and absolutely take that corner very well. And that puts us up into P5. So we haven't lost too much. There's a little bit of a gap up ahead, 1.7 seconds, with a little bit of pressure from behind. But yeah, that actually wasn't too bad, and we're here in P5, and we'll skip on to the final lap because we're still in P5. That seems to be how it went, and unfortunately, again, very rusty. First race of the day, getting a little bit out of line coming out of the chicane. So last lap, back down into P7, and not too bad a race. We did have, we were consistent in the middle part of the race, being able to hold P5, but a little bit of a mistake there demotes us down to P7. So first race of the day, getting to grips with things, not the worst finishing position, but we move on to the second race of today, and moving up a position, we'll be starting in P3 for this race with the Supra behind us again. So it's not actually looking too bad for us here with the Supras behind. There's a race later in this video where we do have a faster car behind, and we'll soon see how that turns out. Looking to take what we learned from the first race, which is essentially hit your braking points and try to navigate the chicane of death as best you possibly can, as we all know. Gran Turismo 7 is coming out very soon. Looking forward to that. Only a few weeks now. So as soon as that comes out, will be a lot of content that we'll be looking to create. And yeah, we're looking forward to it. The game's looking good. Gran Turismo Sport, still hanging on, still managing to still quite a good audience, I feel, for Gran Turismo Sport, and I'm definitely enjoying playing this game, and quite new to the content creation on this game, so hoping to kind of build a little bit of an audience, particularly before Gran Turismo 7, But yeah, really looking forward to that, and I'm sure all of you guys are too. So managing to navigate the first few corners relatively well. P2 gets a little bit of a gap, and we've got a big 1.4 second gap behind. So it's a case of there's not going to be any pressure from behind. Let's close the gap up to P2. As we come down into this braking point here, the guy in P2 just seems to get a little bit of a poor exit, a little bit of oversteer maybe, hits the curb, and that was his race. So he's now out the loop, and we're up into P2. And apart from that, nothing exciting actually happened. The Irishman up ahead managed to hold P1, and that was that, P2. So moving on to the third race. Now this is where we have the GTR behind, and the GTR, as you all know, very good for its straight line speed, and the Supra not so much. So we have to be very conscious of this GTR behind and what he'll do coming down the straight. So sometimes when you're aware of that, the nerves pile on. You might miss a gear, or maybe a little bit slow in the gear change, which can massively impact your straight line speed. So lights out and away we go, trying to tuck into that slipstream of the Supra up ahead, but the GTR is closing, and we know he is closing. So all we need to do is coming down into the first braking point, hit it nicely. We do, and he goes flying through. Now I don't know if I was maybe just a little bit early, a little bit too cautious, but great move from him, and he actually seemed to hold it pretty well without crashing into the back of P1. But the GTR, a big clunky car to get around, and this is where this track really does favour the Supra. So we're just biding our time, getting ready. It will open up, particularly with the Supra up ahead and the GTR. Two completely different cars. Both have their pros. So this is a case of, let's keep it clean. P4 actually is giving us a little bit of a look now down the outside. Have to go defensive. Brake, seem to hit that quite well, and P1 and P2, they get out of shape. P2 then comes back at us, and we have completely spun around, and we're just going to end the race there. That is a race to forget. What could have been really good, ended up as a pretty disastrous race. So on to the final and our best race of today. We're starting in P4. This was an exciting one. I always feel like sometimes when you play the game for a full evening, you actually, are building up momentum, learning the corners, really trying to, understand where people are going to come from, and where to kind of learn how to, best navigate the perils that are within the Dragon's Tail course. So off we go. We have the Beetle behind, which isn't particularly great for its straight line speed, so not expecting too much, although he is gaining slightly. So we just need to hit our braking point. We do. Iceman is up ahead. P1 goes off. That was the merit, goes straight off. So we're straight away promoted up into P3 with a big gap to the Beetle behind now. So I think there might have been a little bit of collisions behind. We dive down the inside of P2. That promotes us to P2. And now it's a case of let's not let P1 get away, because then we'll be looking at quite a boring race as we've had previously. So we're just hoping that Iceman behind doesn't get too aggressive. We're hoping that we can work together, although as we all know, that doesn't tend to happen. So he gets a great run through the S, and he's looking to go down the outside. I hit the brake point pretty well, and he just wasn't feeling confident around the outside. I would have given him the room if he'd went for it, but he backs out, which is good, and we don't actually lose too much time to P1 up ahead. So navigating the Death Chicane pretty well. Iceman behind follows us through, and this corner here, was probably my worst corner on the track. I just could never hit the braking point, and he hits it very well. He gets an all right exit. He did go in, obviously quite fast and deep, but he holds it quite well. And now this isn't a great position for us because we're side by side, don't have the benefit of the slipstream, and we're actually going to go into turn one exactly side by side, and I've managed to get a little bit of a gain here, hit the braking point. Iceman, very clean racing, you know, props to him. You know, he both hit the braking points bang on, and he wasn't too aggressive going through there. So great racing, clean racing. Iceman actually did, you know, put a message in the chat afterwards saying it was a great race, and yeah, hats off to him, because that's what you want. You don't want to be getting the shoulders out and fighting tooth and nail for every corner. You do want clean racing, and particularly when you have P1 up ahead, trying to, you know, just pump in the lap times. You don't want to lose too much time to him up ahead. So through the series of corners there, we actually get hit them pretty well, and Iceman drops off a little bit of time. So now this is a case of, let's do a qualifying lap as best we possibly can and try and close down the gap to P1 up ahead. So coming through the chicane here, P1, not too sure what happens to him. Yeah, another victim of the death chicane, and we've seen a few today already. It does happen. It is, you know, it's tough to hit it, and you know, I've been a victim of it myself. Yeah, it can, you know, P1, when you've got that much of a gap to P2, it's difficult difficult to see. So that promotes us up into P1, coming down onto lap 3. Iceman is behind. He's not close. I don't think he's going to be close enough to go for a move into P1. So let's just hit the braking point just past the 150 meter board. Take that nicely, and you can get aggressive with these curbs. I sometimes dabble on them, I sometimes don't, but that takes us on to the final lap, and Iceman's behind. Final lap, he's just absolutely going to send it up the inside. Little bit of a tap, fair enough. Last lap, he probably had to go for it. If he didn't go for it there, the opportunity might not have came up, because it is difficult to overtake. So final lap of the race, this is what we want. A little bit of a love tap. I think he braked early. You know, nerves obviously getting to him. So now we're right up behind him. And this series of corners is so difficult to hit when you're following somebody that close. And I got a little bit nervous, and I, you know, just slammed on the brakes. You know, you can tap the brakes to follow it through, but, you know, hit the brakes pretty hard, and he might have it. There's a big gap up ahead, and I don't think I'm going to be close enough to send it up the inside on this corner. That's okay. Hit the braking point nicely. I have closed it. Now, if you do get a good chicane here, there is an opportunity, as we've seen, to go into the last corner, the one that I'm worst at. So we just need to focus, concentrate, hit this well. Iceman up ahead, that's him. And that promotes us into P1, another victim of the death chicane. It does happen, and we've seen it many times today, and that is our win for today. So Iceman, great race, clean racing. Unfortunately, I don't know if it was a bit of lag. It looked like lag on my screen, but I imagine he probably just turned in a little bit too early to that first part of the chicane, and that is our P1. So thank you everyone for watching if you got this far. Looking forward to Gran Turismo 7. I hope you are too. Please like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you very soon.